For weeks, citizens living in Ukraine, a country in Eastern Europe, waited with bated breaths as tensions with Russia worsened. On Wednesday night, those citizens went to bed not sure of what would happen next. Many doubted that Russia would actually invade Ukraine. But by Thursday morning, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he had authorized military action to defend itself against what he said were threats emanating from Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reported that Russia had carried out missile strikes on Ukrainian infrastructure and border guards, and said that explosions had been heard in many cities. An official also reported non-stop cyber attacks. Zelensky, in an address to Ukraine, declared martial law. That is simply that the military was in control of the country.
Сьогодні від вас, від кожного з вас, потрібно спокій. По можливості залишайтесь, будь ласка, вдома. Ми працюємо. Армія працює. Працює весь сектор безпеки і оборони України. На зв'язку з вами буду постійно я, РНБО, Кабінет міністрів України. Незабаром я знов вийду на зв'язок. Без паніки, ми сильні, ми готові до всього, ми всіх переможемо, бо ми – це Україна. Слава Україні!
Why is this happening though? Russia has long resisted Ukraine's move towards the European Union and the West's defensive military alliance known as NATO. In fact, Russia demanded an end to NATO's eastward expansion and said Ukrainian membership of the US-led Atlantic Military Alliance was unacceptable. World leaders, including the United States, Britain, the European Union, and elsewhere, have for weeks been trying to de-escalate the situation to no apparent avail. In response, Al Jazeera reported that Western countries and Japan imposed sanctions on Russian banks and individuals. These sanctions included freezing assets and imposing visa bans. That didn't stop Russia, which moved to recognize the independence of two Ukraine breakaway or separatist states, Donetsk and Luhansk. Still undeterred by the threat of further sanctions, Russia invaded Ukraine. While world leaders gathered to decide on a cooperative way forward, the Organization of American States, OAS, which Guyana is part of, has condemned the attack on Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The OAS, in a statement, said Russian aggression constitutes a crime against international peace. The armed attack perpetuated against the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine is reprehensible and constitutes a very serious act in violation of international law. When asked to comment on the issue, Guyana's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Hugh Todd, told the newsroom that Guyana was participating in the high-level engagements at the United Nations, UN, geared at resolving the Russia-Ukraine issue. The Caribbean community CARICOM, of which Guyana is a founding member, also issued a strong statement on the issue on Thursday. CARICOM said the hostilities against Ukraine go counter to the principles of respect for sovereignty, territorial integrity, non-interference in the internal affairs of another sovereign state, and the prohibition on the threat or use of force, and the peaceful resolution of disputes, which are the bedrock of this community. CARICOM maintains that the principles of universal respect and adherence to these norms and principles of international law are fundamental to the maintenance of the international system and global peace and security. So what happens now? Scores of people have already died, and many Ukrainians and citizens globally worry about what will happen next. Countries surrounding Ukraine, including Latvia, Poland, and Moldova, say they are preparing for an influx of refugees. Meanwhile, reports from the BBC indicate that Ukrainians themselves are worried about running out of supplies as the invasion continues. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Vishani Ragobeer.